Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Renfroe Middle School virtual town hall. My name is Maggie Furman, and I am Assistant Superintendent here in City Schools of Decatur. I want to thank you for joining us for this virtual town hall, and I hope the information that we provide tonight will alleviate at least a portion of the stress and anxiety that you are experiencing. This session is set up as a webinar, so even though you will not be able to directly ask questions in a chat room, we do have the link to submit questions through our virtual town hall Q&A still open, as well as our opening 2020 at csdecatur.net email box is also still open. At this time, we have received over 400 questions, and we are going to do our best to respond to all of the questions that we have received throughout this presentation tonight. In City Schools of Decatur, we have three pillars that keep our work focused on our vision and mission. And these three pillars are advancing racial equity, accelerating student learning, and building and sustaining a positive school climate. We believe that our work in these three core areas, whether it happens in person or in the virtual setting, will result in helping our students be their best, achieve their dreams, and to make the world a better place. In our middle schools, we follow the International Baccalaureate Middle Years Program as the umbrella for how our instruction is designed. For those of you who are new to middle school and need more information about the IB Middle Years Program, you can ask your teachers and staff at Renfroe Middle School. Tonight's meeting, we're going to do a brief introduction of who our speakers are going to be. Then we're going to give an overview of the middle school virtual learning plan. We're going to spend most of the time answering the frequently asked questions that have been submitted to our several the forums through the FAQ, as well as our opening 2020 emails. Then we're going to talk about what are some of the next steps to find more information, and then what are some of the next steps that we have available for our families who are going to be looking for what to do next and how they can help support us open schools and bring our students back into our buildings. So I'd like to first introduce Mr. Greg Wiseman. He's the principal of Renfroe Middle School. Hey, Greg, you want to give a shout out to the crowd?
Hey, welcome all. Looking forward to getting to know you and learning with you this year.
Great. And then we also have Dr. Kristy Beam. She's our Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Kristy, thank you for being here tonight and preparing this presentation. I'm going to pass the speaking rights over to you, and I'll continue to moderate the slides.
Hey, Maggie, I have one of my assistant principals here too, Summer.
Oh, good.
Summer, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Summer Clayton. I am one of the assistant principals at Renfroe. Good to see everybody.
Thanks for coming, Summer. All right.
Thanks for coming, Summer. All right, well, hi, I'm Kristy Beam. I'm the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction here at City Schools of Decatur. Can you go to the next slide, Maggie? Thank you. So this quote, "The future is uncertain, but this uncertainty is at the very heart of human creativity," has kind of been my guiding light since March. Like everyone else, virtual learning is not where I would choose to be, but that is a health and safety issue. And I know there are a lot of questions that we received about having, can we have certain small groups meet in person? And for a variety of reasons, that's not currently possible. But I have to remind myself that I can choose each day to look at the losses and challenges that this brings, or I can look at this as an opportunity to look at our schools from a fresh lens. And even though there are difficult decisions about whether to stay virtual or face-to-face, my role is to ensure that we are offering our students the best instruction, regardless of the environment. So I want to be clear that I want to be sure that we all are clear on the definitions and we have a common understanding of the language. So in the schedule, where it says live instruction could be a blend of synchronous, meaning face-to-face like we are right now. A teacher is speaking to you live, and there's live interaction, or it could be asynchronous where it was previously recorded, or it's a digital tool that the student is working with. Live could be class meetings, whole group sessions, small group sessions, and individual check-ins. So synchronous refers specifically to the live face-to-face where the student and teacher is live together. That has to happen in real time, obviously. Asynchronous, like I said, could be, asynchronous is previously recorded and allows the flexibility that students can work at their own pace so they do not have to be online at a certain time. And then we have Wellness Wednesday this year, which is a district-wide initiative that provides lessons on topics such as equity, wellness, social emotional learning, and we will follow the social emotional learning curriculum called C-Learning through Emory University. Thank you. So where did the plan come from, including the schedules? Our instructional plan, we worked on all summer. We had a lot of scenarios to think about, but we did have a team that really dug in. We started out by digging into the surveys with the secondary. Back in May, we sent out surveys to gather feedback on the remote learning experiences in the spring. We sent those to parents, to teachers, and to our secondary students. So Renfroe students did participate. In fact, they were our greatest number of students that we received data from. So that's great. So we really dug into that data. We gathered just a plethora of information from the surveys, but I did summarize a few trends that we saw in the surveys, and that was that parents said that students need more work, that they would like to see a more typical schedule, that students need help with organization, and that we need more off-screen resources. Also that delivery needs to be simplified and centralized, more live instruction, that small group in live instruction tended to be most effective, and that students needed more accountability and there needed to be more human interaction and peer interaction. The items that I have highlighted are items that appeared as a trend across all three surveys. So the next thing the team did is we dug into research. And we read massive amounts of information from educational journals, from functioning virtual schools. We watched webinars. We reviewed work from other districts. And we had our equity coordinator, Dr. Mary Banks, train the team on utilizing the racial equity tool for decision making so we were ensuring that our work was being viewed through a racial equity lens. So here are some guidelines that are suggested through research for virtual learning. And we tried to adhere to these guidelines when creating the schedules and plans that we recommended to district leaders for approval. So, yes, thank you. No, it's fine. Just a couple of things to be aware of, because we did receive a number of questions related to Wellness Wednesday special programs and technology. And there are town halls specifically for those areas next week. So I will not be digging into those in detail. So please tune in for those next week. Thank you. I would like to start with some of the questions we received about the schedule. It's important to note that in the spring, schools were given waivers. So there were no attendance requirements, there were no grading requirements, there were no testing requirements for schools. Schools at that point truly had the option to close. CSD did not. We continued to provide our students with virtual instruction, but there was little to no accountability for schools or students back in the spring. That is not the case now. In Georgia, school is compulsory and mandatory for students aged 6 to 16. And currently there are no waivers granted for that accountability at the moment. Now, I say at the moment because as we know, all the information I'm sharing tonight is current as I know it as of right now, but things are changing rapidly as we know. But there are no waivers at the moment. So we are accountable to provide students a full educational experience. There was concern about less overall instructional time as compared to the typical school schedule. As I mentioned, according to research, online lessons should be shorter. Classrooms just to talk about what a classroom in the building looks like in 2020, classrooms are expected to be student-centered, collaborative, and problem-based. Therefore, teacher lectures have largely been replaced by teachers delivering short lessons and helping students unpack the learning targets so that they understand their intended learning. And the teachers facilitate students doing research or active learning that includes higher level thinking skills like creating and analyzing, rather than just passively receiving information. It's important to understand so that we can consider the role of the teacher and student and how that will translate into the online environment. Like in the building, a lesson could include time with the teacher, in whole group, in small differentiated groups. Students might have time with digital learning resources. They might have time for independent practice. So school schedules often include a lot of time for independent practice, and in the classroom, students would be working collaboratively or independently some of that time. We also know that students, some students work more quickly than others. Students work at different paces. So we want to recognize that some students will take longer to work than, to complete their work than in those scheduled blocks. Some students might be working on enrichment work as well. So there may be time outside of the scheduled block. So it may not necessarily be less time that the students are working. We do want to honor that and recognize that our students work at different pace. Another thing that came up a good bit was Wellness Wednesday. And like I said, there is a town hall devoted just to explaining more of that and digging into the details. But I did want to mention that it is a K-12 initiative. It is, and we do view it as a valid addition to an enrichment of our curriculum. It is social emotional learning, restorative practices, social justice, and anti-racist education are foundational to all we do. So we view guiding students through such content as strengthening the foundation for their academic success. I also wanted to mention that these initiatives are directly aligned with our IB philosophy. International Baccalaureate IB Learner Profile describes a broad range of human capacities and responsibilities that go beyond academic success. They imply commitment to all the members of the school community to learn respect for themselves, others, and the world around them. So each of the IB programs are committed to the development of students to become inquirers, knowledgeable thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk takers, balanced, and reflective. So we had some questions and concerns about time that students would be sitting in front of the screen. And unfortunately, sitting is a part of the typical school day. And screen time is a concern for all of us. But it's important to note a few things. Lessons, of course, can look many different ways, and the exact amount of time that students will be in front of the screen will depend on the specific lesson design that they're working on. But we are, like I said, accountable for a full day's instruction, and right now our only option is to deliver that virtually. While we're aware of screen time recommendations, organizations such as the American Association of Pediatrics and other organizations do acknowledge that there is a difference between passive consumption of material on the screen and active learning and interacting that happens on the screen. Also important is, to try to limit screen time outside of school time, and also try to ensure that students are getting adequate physical activity as well. So is attendance required? That was one of our questions, and yes, attendance is actually required. Now, how will it be taken? That is where we can have some flexibility. So attendance is required, but the flexibility means that your child does not have to attend every live session. All live sessions will be recorded and students can watch them at another time. Students will actually log in and take their own attendance once a day. We expect that students will attend the live sessions, and logging in says, hey, I'm here and I'm going to attend to my work. But we understand that it may not be possible, and so to provide you with flexibility, the lessons will be recorded and they can watch this later. Just like in the school building, if a student is absent, the student is responsible and accountable for the learning that they missed. And just like in the school building, attendance is different from participation and achievement. One of the concerns we received overall was about a lack of consistency in lunch times, and those have been adjusted. So there is a 45-minute window where every student throughout CSD has a common lunch time. The school nutrition department will be providing meals for all CSD students to pick up. Meal pickup and delivery will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Decatur High School between the hours of 10 and 12:30. Students will receive multiple meals at each pickup, and we received another question about lunch as well, and that is, how do you get a refund if you won't be using the lunch service this year? If you need to receive a refund, there is a form on the CSD website so that you can receive your refund. You can also leave the money there. It will not go anywhere. It will continue to roll over, and when we return in person, it will be there waiting for your student. I think there's also an option to pay it forward and donate it to another family. We also had some questions about how families will manage the schedule with parents working. I don't have a perfect answer to that. That is a massive challenge facing parents worldwide. And we are compassionate to that, and we are concerned about that. Even though your students are becoming more independent in middle school, I know that has to be incredibly stressful. I would suggest that you adopt the motto of the Georgia Department of Education, just as we have. You must choose compassion over compliance and do the best you can. I hear a lot of parents being concerned that their child's falling behind. And I just want to say, behind is a relative term, and this is a worldwide pandemic. So your child is not falling any further behind than anyone else. And we will all move forward together. So please, we all understand. We understand that there are working parents that cannot be flexible with their schedule. So that's why we have tried to be as flexible as possible. Also, to provide you some resources, we have partnered with Decatur Education Foundation, and they are helping support our families with childcare support for families that need it. They are helping partner with learning and mentoring support for students and families that would need it. They're helping with student behavioral health as needed. And they are partnering with us to provide provide our parents with support and resources as well. So as far as what that will actually look like, they are trying to make it very personalized and specific to exactly what you need. So we have sent out that Readiness Survey. So once they receive the results of that, and I know they're coming in regularly, and we're working on those, so please fill that out. We will be in touch and help you with what your needs are. So we received some additional questions on specific ways that parents can support their students. Renfroe will send out a general supply list next week, and teachers will remind students of any supplies that they will need each upcoming week. As always, if there is a family that needs supplies, please reach out and we will assist you in gathering anything that you need for home learning. Families should not be required to print, but students, there was a question about that, if you needed a printer or a scanner. That should not be required, but sometimes, as far as scans, sometimes I know students would take photos of their work. So that is an option. Photos can be submitted through Google Classroom. Routines and schedules are important. So as you look at the schedule, try to think about what will work for your family. As I said, we understand if students can't be at every session because of your work schedule or whatever your family situation may be. We understand that, but do try to create a schedule and routine that will work for your family. Also, to support families, we've created a website that has resources and organizational tools for students and parents. So students, there are some training videos on there for students right now, and we are updating it every day. I've gotten some ideas actually today that we want to add for students, and I know some of the teachers at Renfroe are working on that as well. So we want to be sure that we are setting our students up for success. It is a work in progress and it is being updated constantly, like I said, and we will send him the information about that, as well as student parent handbooks will be coming home on Friday to help you with lots and lots of details about what to expect in virtual learning. Another way that, or another resource that you have is to please communicate with your teacher. You know, if your child can't attend a session or your child can't complete something on time, please just communicate with the teacher. Encourage your student, obviously, to communicate with the teacher first. Our teachers are creative and compassionate, and if you communicate, I know they will do everything they can to help you succeed, your children succeed. So I will say, you know, it can be harder for us to judge lesson effectiveness online. So if your student is finding their day is not flowing well, please provide that feedback to the teachers so that they can make adjustments. Administrators will be observing and providing teachers feedback as well, but that's kind of a snapshot, and you and your student have the overall big picture. So if we work together, we can continuously improve that experience for our students. And as always, if you need to communicate, the first line of communication should be your student with their teacher. If that doesn't work, you can email the teacher. And if you need further assistance, please reach out to school administration. Now I'm going to address my very favorite question. It was one about, will Google Classroom be automatically populated because there's a student a 6th grade student that's concerned about not knowing where to go. That question just touched my heart because it provided a little bit of sense of normalcy for me, and that fear and that look in 6th graders' eyes about the one coming into the building for the first time, and how scary moving to that big building can be, and having to move to different teachers and things like that. So that's one that's one positive that I can share. We can alleviate a little of that apprehension because this will be a lot less scary than entering that big building. Even though that's not scary, it's really fun, but it is in the moment. So yes, classrooms will be automatically populated, and right when students log on to their G Suite, they will see and go to Classroom, they will see all their classes right there. For Rising 6th grade information is available. There was an Rising 6th grade information and an orientation that is up on the Renfroe website under the Families tab. So please, if you have not watched that and you will be attending 6th grade, please do that. The meet and greets will be a great way to get more information. And I know Renfroe is working on some communication for parents and students on how to log in to their email, find their Google Classroom, and all of those things we will guide you through carefully. So Georgia has applied for a federal testing waiver, but those have not been approved yet. So we will, until we get further information on that, we will continue screening students this year to determine their level of readiness and assessment in language arts. Their levels and readiness in language arts and math this year. We are not planning our typical battery of assessments. Tests like COGAT and MAP will resume when we return to in-person instruction. So I sure do appreciate you being with us tonight. I appreciate you sharing your students with us, and please let us know if we can help you in any way.
Thank you, Dr. Beam. That was a wealth of information. I really appreciate getting a lot of the questions answered that have been coming in. But a couple did come in as you were presenting, and I want to see if we can get these answered. There was a question, and Kristy, I'm going to ask you to answer this one about library checkout. So is there a process in place for students to get library books?
There is. I know each school, including Renfroe, is working on a plan so that we can get physical books in the hands of students. And we are also, I am trying to work with transportation to work on a plan for a bookmobile that we're calling I'm going to pronounce it correctly this time, the Flybrary. So we are really excited about that. And we will be sending out more information once we have details about when it will be in your area. And Dr. Furman, can you click on schedules for a second? Because I did want to
Sure.
clarify. There was one, I think it was just more or less a formatting question with the schedules, and I just wanted to address that. There was a
Okay.
concern about no live instruction, no synchronous instruction on Tuesdays and Fridays, and that is not the case. It's just the way the schedule is designed. Yes, it's there. So it would be first period and then second period on
Yep.
Tuesday and Friday. So I just wanted to clarify that really quickly.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, Mr. Wiseman, these two questions I think are probably best for you to answer. And the first one is a question about band, chorus, and orchestra. Are those still going to be available?
Yes. So good evening, everyone. So band, chorus, and orchestra are just 3 of our many connections classes that Renfroe offers. And we are offering all of our connections classes during this time, and definitely band, chorus, and orchestra. Dr. Hirschhorn, our chorus director, Christine Kramer, our band director, and Heston McCraney, our strings orchestra director, are amazing teachers, and they will be, planning the most, engaging lessons that you possibly can in a virtual environment. So if your students are already enrolled in those connections, you'll get even more specific information from those 3 teachers moving forward about like what things are going to look like coming up.
Okay, great. That's great news. And the last one I think is especially pertinent since schedules came out today, and I believe there's a new class on all middle school student schedules called Advisement. So I'm sure there's a lot of questions, but there did one come in about just basically what is Advisement. So
Right.
people want to know.
Yeah. No, I got a lot of, when those schedules went live this morning, my my inbox and my email pretty much exploded. So a lot of those questions were about advisement. And so let me just take a moment to look at that. So if you've printed out or if you're looking at your child's schedule, it says, I'm not looking at one now, but it says ADV advisement right on the top. So, and I think there was a question about, does that mean advisement's going to be now in a homeroom? No, it's not. So let me back up a little bit. So we were in conversations in the winter and spring about adding an advisement period to the Renfroe schedule for this coming school year, even before COVID-19. So that was something that was already in the works. And we're like looking to do that basically to help us have a time where we can really build positive relationships with small groups of kids, where we can, we're starting our PBIS initiatives for our school. So we thought that would be a good time to really hone in on our PBIS matrix and really get into the positive behavior reinforcements that we want to do and get student input. And we also wanted to dive into our equity work in maybe a more focused time. So having an advisement period was something that we were already considering prior to COVID. Now, COVID hits and we feel it's even more important, okay? So we're going to really think about ways we can support kids in social emotional learning. So, we have 110 staff members that are going to, they're not just like the teachers. I have an advisement group. Summer Clayton has an advisement group. All the administrators, counselors, bunch of and folks that are certified teachers but are maybe not teaching specific classes are all going to have an advisement group. So we'll have about like 13 or 14 kids in each of our groups. They're going to be multi-age. So, I think some of you might have a 7th grader and you saw that your advisement teacher was an 8th grade teacher. Is my child having an 8th grade class? It's no, that we all are going to have multi-age kids in our advisement groups. So again, we're going to really use this time this advisement time to build relationships, to talk about our PBIS matrix, how we're transitioning it from the school-wide building matrix to what it looks like in a virtual world. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you will very shortly. We're going to use that as a time to make sure kids are connected. Hey, how are things? How is your connection going? How is your Chromebook, your hotspot? Is there anything we need to do that we can help? Again, that there's time in actual lesson that teachers are teaching, they might not be able to do that. So this is a time to really check in on kids. And again, to also get into more of the social emotional learning things to make sure, now that we have COVID, we have bigger needs, right? And so we just know it's an important time for us to connect with kids and have kids in small groups being able to connect together, meet new kids, meet new friends, meet new groups, and to just another time to connect where there's not like an academic requirement for that. So in the in the virtual setting, those advisement periods, if you saw the schedule, are going to be at the last teaching block on Tuesday and Friday. And so when we get back to the building, we get back to a normal schedule, our plan always was to have like a 30-minute advisement time per week. So we'll transition to that. I think that's it for now for advisement.
Great. Thanks, Greg. That sounds like a great opportunity for lots of people to get to know kids in the building. Okay, I think we want to share with parents just very quickly. There is a website that is going to be launched, and it has a lot of help, information and tutorials. Dr. Beam, did you want to walk through this a little bit?
Yeah, this is the website I was talking about that you'll get. I just thought I'd give you a little sneak peek tonight. You will get the information for how to access it on Friday. There is a section for students and parents. Right now, it's primarily how to. So this would be a great place if your student is feeling a little anxious to go on and just learn how to use the Google tools for education. Also for parents, there are some resources we were talking about how parents are managing learning at home and managing their students. You may see a different side of your student that you're not used to when you put those demands of school on them at home. So there are some great resources there. And then for students, you will see also, how to share videos with your teacher, how to log on, how to access things. And again, we are adding lots of information and videos each day that we think will help our students. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek to that.
Thank you, Dr. Beam. I think that's really helpful. So parents, you may be asking, where do I go from here? So as Dr. Beam mentioned, we'll have a parent handbook that we are going to be sharing in a district-wide communication this Friday, so look for that. It's got a lot of information in there more specifically. Start thinking about how that schedule is going to work for you and your family. And Dr. Beam mentioned there's a great deal of flexibility. So think about when and how this schedule can work. Is there a certain schedule that works better and you can sync up all of your students on one schedule? And that's fine. We understand that there are lots of variables in each house and with each family, and we want to do what we can to allow our flexibility to help this work the best that it can for you. Also, we just shared the parent resource website, so we'll be launching that soon as well. So next steps, parents, the best people to answer your questions from tonight on are Mr. Wiseman, your teachers that you've been assigned, and the APs at Renfroe Middle School. They have the specific information that pertains to their schedules, their classes, and how things are going to work at Renfroe. So I'm always happy to answer questions. I know Dr. Beam is as well. But if you want the best information and the fastest response, that's going to be to reach out to the team at Renfroe Middle School. Also next week, all the school principals will be sharing how parents, if they're interested, can sign up to try to be a part of our COVID mitigation teams. We are sharing that information out next week, and what we are asking each principal to do is to form a team at their school. And we have a pretty significant document with lots of steps, because when we do bring students back into our buildings, we want that to happen as soon as it is possibly safe to do so. But we also want to make sure that we have a very strong plan in place. So when our students and teachers do come back, we have everything ready to welcome them back and make that environment as safe as possible. So look for more information about these local teams and how you can participate if you're interested in trying to support these teams. Also, please do what you can with your family in our communities to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Lowering the spread of the virus and decreasing the amount of people infected with the virus is the best way to get our students into the buildings as fast as possible. So do what you can, do your part, and help be a model for other people in our communities as well. I want to thank you again for being part of our town hall tonight. Really appreciate your input and all the support that you've been sending our way. And we look forward to seeing your students in the virtual setting soon, and hopefully back in our classrooms and in our school buildings as soon as possible. Have a great night. Thank you.